Right.
You have to stick to rituals. Rituals are very important to choose. Anyway, very happy this Shabbat to have a couple of special things going on. One is that St. Judah's going to be with us. He's here this weekend, which is like a big honor for me. And also, instead of a sermon tonight, I'm going to be having a discussion with Dr. Daniel Scolnics from Duke University. So that's a real treat for me too, because I've rarely been able to talk to him. So we're on page 13, Shalom Aleichem.
Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharei, Malachei Elyon, Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, Kadosh Baruch Hu. Bachem l'shalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Elyon. Melech Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Paruni l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Melech Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Seichem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Melech Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Page 15, Lachuna Ranina.
Lachuna Ranina, Lachuna Ranina, Lachuna Ranina, Ladonai. Lachuna Ranina, Lachuna Ranina, Lachuna Ranina, Ladonai. Naria, Naria, L'tzur Yishen Kadma, Hana B'Toda. Naria, Naria, L'tzur Yishen Kadma, Hana B'Toda. Lachuna Ranina, Lachuna Ranina, Lachuna Ranina, Ladonai. Lachuna Ranina, Lachuna Ranina, Lachuna Ranina, Ladonai. Arba'im Shana Kut B'Dor, Va'omar Amto Elevahem, Vehem Lo Yadu Derachai, Asher Nishbati V'Api, In Yevon El Menuchati.
On page 16, we'll read responsibly in English. Sing a new song to Adonai, proclaim Adonai, all people on earth.
Sing to Adonai, and you say God's awesome might. Announce to the world God's glory and wonders.
For Adonai is great, deserving of praise. Adonai alone is to be revered as God.
All the gods of the nations are nothingness. Adonai created the heavens.
Majesty and might accompany God. Splendor and strength adorn God's sanctuary.
Acknowledge Adonai, all families and nations. Proclaim God's majestic power. Acknowledge God's glory and bring God truth.
Worship Adonai in resplendent reverence. Let the earth tremble in God's presence.
Declare to the world Adonai is sovereign. God has steadied the world which stands firm. Judges all nations with fairness.
Let the heavens rejoice. Let the earth be glad. Let the sea and all contains exult.
Let field and forest sing for joy. Adonai comes to rule the earth, to rule the world justly, the nations with faithfulness. Yismachu Hashamayim, Yismachu Hashamayim, Yismachu Hashamayim, Zetagel Haaretz. Yeramayam, 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 Umelo, Yeramayam, 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 Umelo, Yismachu Hashamayim, Hashamayim, Yismachu Hashamayim, Shamayim, Yismachu Hashamayim, V'tagel Haaretz.
Page 20, Ms. Morley David.
Havu Adonai b'nei Adonai, Al Hamayim, El HaKavod Yirim. Adonai, Al Hamayim, Adonai, Hamayim Rabim. Kol Adonai, Ba'akoach, Kol Adonai, Behadar, Kol Adonai, Shover Arasim, Vaishaver Adonai et Arzei Havanon, Vayarkishem, Demo Egel, Lebanon Vesirion, Lebanon Vesirion, Gemo and Reinim. Kol Adonai, Chotzei Lamodesh, Kol Adonai, Yachil Midbar, Yachil Adonai, Midbar Kadesh, Kol Adonai, Yachol Elayalot, Vayechesod Ye'arod, Uvehechalo, Kulo Omer Kavod. Adonai Lamabul Yashav Vayeshev Adonai Melech Leolam Adonai Oz Le'amo Yitain Yonah Yivarech Et Amo Bashalom.
Lachadodi, pages 21 and 22. The first two stanzas on page 21 and the last two on 22. When we'll get to that last stanza, we'll rise and turn to greet the Sabbath Queen. Page 21, Lachadodi.
Lachadodi, Likrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat Kabbalah. Lachadodi, Likrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat Kabbalah. Shamor v'zachor v'dibor echad, Ishniah Dueling Leyuchad, Adonai echad, U'shemo echad, L'shemo tiferet v'liti la 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 la, Lachadodi, Likrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat Kabbalah. Lachadodi, Likrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat Kabbalah. Likrat Shabbat Lefud V'nelcha, Ki Mekor HaBaracha, Merosh Mikevin Nesucha, Sof Ma'aseh B'machshavat Tila la 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 la, Lachadodi, Likrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat Kabbalah. Lachadodi, Likrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat Kabbalah. Yaminu Samol Tifrotzi, V'et Adonai Ta'aritzi, Al Yadi Ishpek Hartzi, V'nesmacha V'nagi la 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 la, Lachadodi, Likrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat Kabbalah. Lachadodi, Likrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat Kabbalah. Bo'i v'shalom Keret Bala, Gam v'simcha u'v'tzala, Kofem Munei Am Segula. Bo'i chala, la 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 la, Lachadodi, Likrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat Kabbalah. Lachadodi, Likrat Kala, B'nei Shabbat Kabbalah.
Please be seated. We're on page 23. We'll read responsibly in English. It is good to acclaim Adonai, to sing your praise, exalted God.
To affirm your love each morning,
In your faithfulness each night, to the music of the lute.
and the melody of the harp.
Your works, Adonai, make me glad. I sing with joy of your creation.
How vast your works, Adonai, signs that beyond our grasp.
The godless cannot comprehend, the foolish cannot fathom this.
Your wicked you flourish, spring up like grass.
Your enemies, Adonai, your enemies shall perish, all the wicked shall come.
exalted, thine anointed with great oil. I see the downfall of my foes, and heard the snare of my attackers.
The righteous shall flourish like the palm tree, they shall grow tall like a cedar in Lebanon, planted in the house of Adonai, they will thrive in the courts of our God.
They shall bear fruit even in old age, they shall be ever fresh and fragrant. Proclaim Adonai is us. Tzadika tamar yifra, Yeres balvanon yizkeh, shetulim bebeit Adonai, yefasrot Eloheinu yafrihu. Oh, Gidun v'seva, v'shenim v'rananim, yehu le'hagi, yashar Adonai, tzuri, Eloah Matam.
Please rise to the bar from page 28.
Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed.
Please be seated. We'll read the middle paragraph of English together. Praised are you, Adonai, our God, who rules the universe, your word bringing the evening dusk. You open with wisdom the gates of dawn, design the day with wondrous skill, set out the succession of seasons, and arrange the stars in the sky according to your will. Adonai Tzvaot, who create day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness away from light. Eternal God, your sovereignty shall forever embrace us. Praise to you, Adonai, from each evening's dusk.
U'mahaker yom u'mehevi layla, u'mafil ben yom u'velayla, Adonai Tzvaot Shemo, El Chai v'Kayam, Tamim lo Chalenu Le'olam Va'ed, Baruch Ata Adonai, Amari Barabim.
Page 29, Shabbat Olam.
Ahavat Olam Beit Yisrael, Amchata, Torah u'mitzvot, Chukim u'mishpatim, Otanu limadeta. Al Kain Adonai Eloheinu, Shafeinu v'kumeinu, Nasiach b'chukecha, v'nismach b'divrei Toratecha, u'b'mitzvotecha, le'olam va'ed. Ki hein chayenu v'yorech yameinu, Yorech Yameinu, Uvahem Neged, Yomam V'Layla, Yomam V'Layla. V'yavatcha al tasir mimenu li'olamim, Baruch Ata Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael.
Page 30 for the Shema.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad.
V'yahavta
et Adonai
Elohecha
V'chol levacha, v'chol nafshecha, v'chol miyutecha, v'hayu advarim ha'eveh, asher amri etzavacha, Ayom Alvavecha, Veshinantam Levanecha, V'Tipartam, V'Shivtecha V'Veitecha, V'Lechtecha V'Derech, V'V'Shavtecha V'V'Kumecha, V'Shartam Leota V'Techa, V'Hayuletotam V'V'Necha, V'V'Kaptam, Al Mezuzot V'Techa,
You shall love Adonai your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might. And these words which I command you this day shall take to heart. Teach them diligently to your children, and recite them at home and away night and day. Bind them as a sign upon your hand, and as a reminder above your eyes. Inscribe them upon the doorposts of your homes and upon your gates. V'hayim Shemoah, we're reading the rest of the Shema. Natati, V'achalta v'savata, V'samtem, V'limaytem otam b'neihem, V'chtatam z'b'techa, V'ayom Ramayan Shalom V'daber V'neihem, V'achanach V'til Techreim, V'pom Yisrael V'nevasitim V'tam V'chatu, V'matis V'vasitim.
L'man tizkeru b'asitem lekol mitzvotai, v'tem kadoshim le'elohechem, ani Adonai Elohechem, asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim, l'hiyot lachem le'Elohim, ani Adonai Elohechem, amen. Adonai Elohechem, amen.
On page 32, we'll read the first paragraph together in English. We affirm the truth that Adonai alone is our God, and that we are God's people Israel. God redeems us from the power of kings and delivers us from the hand of all tyrants, bringing judgment upon our oppressors and retribution upon all our mortal enemies, performing wonders beyond understanding and marvels beyond all reckoning. God has maintained us among the living, not allowing our steps to falter, guided us to triumph over mighty foes, and exalted our strength over all our enemies, vindicating us with miracles before Pharaoh, with signs and wonders in the land of Egypt. God smote in wrath Egypt's firstborn, brought Israel to lasting freedom, and led them through divided waters as their pursuers sank in the sea. When God's children beheld divine might, they sang in praise, gladly accepting God's sovereignty. Moses and the people of Israel joyfully sang the song to you.
Mi chamocha ba'elem Adonai, mi chamocha netor ba'kodesh, Norah tehilot, osei ve'eleh, malchutecha ra'u v'necha, okeyam lifnei Moshe, ze'eli anu v'yamru,
Adonai yimloch le'olam.
ונאמר כי פד אדוני את יעקב וגאלו מיד חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני כל ישראל.
Page 33, Hashkiveinu.
Hashkiveinu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom V'ha'amidenu malkeinu l'chayim u'feros aleinu sukat shalomecha u'feros aleinu sukat shalomecha v'taknenu b'etza tova milefanecha v'hoshienu l'man shemecha v'hagen ba'adeinu v'hagen ba'adeinu v'aser v'haleinu v'yevdever v'cherev v'rav v'yagon v'aser satan milfaneinu u'me'achareinu u'v'tzel kenafecha tastirenu Kiel shomerenu u'matzilenu ata Kiel melech Melech Melech, Chanun v'rachum, v'rachum atah. U'shemor tzeiteinu, u'boeinu, l'chaim u'shalom, me'ata ve'ad olam. U'shemor tzeiteinu, u'boeinu, l'chaim u'shalom, me'ata ve'ad olam. U'firos aleinu, sukat shalomecha, baruch atah Adonai, hapore sukat shalom, aleinu v'al kol amo Yisrael, v'al Yerushalayim.
Please rise for the Shamru, page 34.
V'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat, la'asot et ha-Shabbat, l'dorotam b'rit olam. Beini u'bein b'nei Yisrael oti le'olam. Tisheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim v'et haaretz, u'bayom hashvi Shabbat vayinafash. Yitgadol v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, Gamad yirak yirutei, Gamlif mafutei, V'chayechon yomechon, U'chayechon beit Yisrael, Agala, U'bizman karim, V'yimeru amen, Yehi shmeira v'mevora, V'olam olam me'omaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach, v'yitpa'ar v'yitramach v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yithaleh, v'yithalal, shemei kedusha b'rihu, li'elam min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, v'amiram v'alma, v'yimru amen.
Please remain standing for our silent devotion from page 35b to page 38. Page 38, the bottom of the page, Oseh Shalom.
Oseh Shalom b'Ramav, U'yaseh Shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Yaseh Shalom, Shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Yisrael. Ya'aseh Shalom, Ya'aseh Shalom. Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh Shalom, Ya'aseh Shalom. Shalom Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. V'yimaru, Amen.
Please be seated. We're on page 47 for Vayechu.
Vayachulu hashamayim v'haaretz v'chol tziba'am vayachal Elohim vayom hashvi melachto asher asah vayishbot vayom hashvi mikol melachto asher asah vayivarach Elohim et yom hashvi vaykadesh oto Yipo Shabbat mikol melachto asher bara Elohim lasod. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech Elohei Avotenu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel Elohei Leah Ha'el HaGadol HaGibor V'Hanora Elohim Pnei Shamayim Va'aretz Magen Avot V'Dvaro Chayim Eitim V'Ma'amaro Ha'el HaKadosh She'en Amo, Ameyach Le'amo, Yom Shabbat Kodsho, Ibam Ratzah L'Haniach Lahem, Ibam Ratzah L'Haniach Lahem, V'chanav Navod, V'yirav Rafachad, V'nogeh Lishmo, V'chol Yom Tamid, Ve'en Abraham. Elahod Adon Ashalom Nekadesh Hashabbat U'Barech U'Meniach B'Kedusha Li'Amadu Shnei Oneg Zecher L'Maaseh Bereshit.
Page 48, Elohim.
Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu, Ritzei b'menuchateinu, Kachenu b'mitzvotecha, V'tein chalkenu b'toratecha, Sameinu b'tuvecha, V'samchenu b'shuatecha, V'taher libeinu, V'yavtecha be'emet, Ve'antilenu, Adonai Eloheinu, V'yamav ratzon, Shabbat Kodshecha, V'yanuchu V'Yisrael, Mekadosh Shemecha, Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. Yitgadol v'yitkadash shemek rabah. V'yalem adibra kiruteh v'yamlich malchuteh. V'chayechon u'v'yom echon. U'chayei b'chol beit Yisrael. V'agala u'v'zman kariv. V'yimmeru amen. Yehei Shmei Rabba Mevora, Le'olam Le'olam Maya. Yitzarach v'yishtabach v'yipar, v'yitromam v'yitnasei, v'yitadar v'yitchalech v'yitalal shemei kedusha. Le'elam mikol birchata, v'shirata v'shbechata v'nechmata. Ta'amiran di'alma v'yemberu. Itkabal Selotehon Uva'utehon Lechol Yisrael Adam Mahuhon Divishmaya V'yemeru Yehi Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya V'chayim Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'yemeru Ose Shalom V'Roma Uyasa Shalom Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'yemeru Amen.
Please rise for the Kiddush, page 49.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei pri hakafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu mitzvotav v'ratzah banu, v'shabbat kodsho v'yahava uvratzon inchilanu, zikaron l'maaseh v'reishit, ki hu yom tefillah l'mikra'ei kodesh. Zecher l'tzion Mitzrayim, Kivanu v'charta, v'yotanu kidashta, mikol hamim, v'shabbat kadshecha, v'yama uvratzon, inchaltanu, Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat.
Please be seated. So, the way I think about it these days is that what's wrong with the world is that we think in binaries. We think about this as opposed to that. These people as opposed to other people. So I'd like to ask Dr. Daniel Scolnics, or Senator Danny, to come up, because Danny is a professor of astrophysics and cosmology at Duke, and we've been talking for most of his life about these kinds of things. Come over here, Danny. And by the way, the symbolism is that here's a scientist and here's a rabbi, and we can stand together. We're not at opposite podiums or something like that. And it started because, and Daniel, correct me if I'm wrong, he spoke someplace and he was talking about science, and he happened to mention that he was the son of a rabbi, and the whole place changed. Because all of a sudden they started listening in a different way, as opposed to a scientist who hates religion or somebody who's a fundamentalist who hates science. So we started thinking about writing or talking, together. And this is our first venture. It's only going to be, 15 or 20 minutes, because otherwise we'll be here all night. And some of us have some stuff to do tomorrow. But so I'd like to ask Danny to say anything he wants to say.
Okay. Hi, everyone. First, I feel like everyone's looking at me thinking I look just like him, but I'm not sure.
You're lucky.
I don't think I can change this. So I got into we got into this conversation because I went to this event. It was kind of like a science versus religion thing. And the question was, is God needed in the story of everything? And I kind of went at this event like, I want to win, because us Scolnics are pretty competitive. And I thought I did really well. And people came up to me afterwards like, wow, as a scientist, I was surprised. People said I was surprised that you could be respectful about religion. And I found that just kind of very surprising comment. Like how have these two different areas separated so much at this point that when I was trying to win, that was still considered very respectful. So we kind of have gotten to talk more and more about science and religion. And the context that I've been thinking a lot about is eclipses, because there's this big eclipse April 8th, so a week from Monday. And I kind of want to throw a question about eclipses. And what makes eclipses so fascinating is that the sun disappears, and for thousands of years, the sun was the sun going up, the sun going down. It's one of the things you could be sure about of the universe. And if it disappears, maybe that's God telling you something. So if you kind of the history of different cultures, kind of everyone has this different attribution of kind of what it means for eclipse, for there to be eclipse. Okay, so I have a question. Okay, so one of the first recorded eclipses is it's in Assyria in like 1600 BC. BCE. I was going there. BCE, and the Assyrians, they were able to predict eclipses, and they had this thing that they thought that eclipses somehow were a sign of God, and this is very serious. So what they did is, anytime they knew there's an eclipse coming, they thought they should sacrifice their king and queen, and they realized that this was not the best idea to kill your king and queen. So what they would do is they would find a look-alike of their king and queen, and they would hide their real king and queen, and they would then sacrifice the lookalikes. Now we just happen to know about this because one time during this whole dance, the real king and queen, when they were being hidden, they died while being hidden, and the lookalikes had to become the real king and queen, and they actually turned out to be the best kings of all of Assyria, of the history of Assyria. Okay, so I have two questions. So first, this is just a pop culture question. What movie does that story sound most like? It's a movie about 30 years ago, and you got it right away. Dave.
He becomes president.
Yeah, okay, good. Okay.
And then he becomes a better president.
Yeah, okay, so same thing as the story. Okay, but here's my real question. So the Syrians were able to predict eclipses. To me, that's scientific. Like you could predict, it's coming.
If they know every 20 years,
it's
5 o'clock.
It's coming. Why then sacrifice their king and queen or their lookalikes?
Okay. All right. A couple of things before I get to that. Judaism has never seen science and religion as being opposites. And that's why there are so many Jewish scientists, especially in the field of physics. There's so many. We've always wanted to find the truth in the world. If we can find scientific truth, that's finding something out about God's world. There's nothing to be scared of, right? Judaism, and that's why you have not only a lot of scientists, but you have our greatest Jewish philosopher, who's a guy named Maimonides, who was a scientist and a doctor and an astronomer. So we've never been afraid of this. In other words, we believe in God, but we believe in reality. And if science is going to give us reality, we want that, right? And so there are people who shy away from that because they're scared that it's going to explode, certain things that they have because they don't read the Bible correctly. But let me try to answer your question. I think that those people in Assyria were scared. Eclipses are scary things. There's something about religion as opposed to science, which is trying to answer certain questions about the human condition. We're scared of getting sick. We're scared of dying. We're scared of the sun not coming back. We're scared of the days getting shorter and not getting longer again, so we light lights in December. And we have religious rituals to do this. So we're scared. And so it may be that they could predict it by the 20-year clock, by the 20-year calendar, but they were still afraid. And so they were going to go through these rituals to just make sure, right, that sun was going to come back. So I think that the answer to your question is fear. And also, don't think of these ancient people or primitive people as being so stupid, right? I think that they knew that there was going to be an eclipse anyway, but they were still scared. And so they wanted to make sure about what is a ritual? A ritual is something about order. You do page 27 and then page 28 and then page 29. There's something comforting about coming into a sanctuary and you know that things are going to be in order because this world is scary. And of all the things I can think of, the eclipse is the scariest.
So when you say, okay, like if kind of religion is trying to address being scared, like why venture at all into science's territory? Like you have a creation story. Like that's gonna be not right. So why do that?
Okay, so it's one of my favorite subjects, and you know it. We've been talking about this for probably 30 years. People don't know how to read the Bible. If they would read the Bible correctly, they would see that in chapter 1 there's one story of creation, which has certain points, right? That there was order, that in the beginning there was God already. That means God is outside of time. There's a purpose. God saw it and it was good, and you should do Shabbat. That's one story. And then there was a completely different story in chapter 2 about Adam and Eve and how certain reality is about to be. If
if you understand reading the Bible, it's not science. It's not history. You know what chapter 1 is? Chapter 1 is a prayer. It's a prayer that there will be order in my life. Disorder, all of us know this, can happen in 1 second. You can take a fall, right? Somebody can hit your car. You can get a bad diagnosis. This world is scary, and ritual is trying to preserve order, give you order. And so that's why you do that 20-year thing with the king and the queen. You keep the rituals going. I don't know if I responded to what you were.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, but when you say, okay, so that's for creation, there's lots of other miracles. Often eclipses were thought of as miracles in the book of Joshua.
So when the sun stood still.
Yeah. So, like, if I say, hey, that thing wasn't a miracle, this was just science.
Absolutely.
Does that hurt your feelings?
No, as a matter of fact, remember I used to go to Egypt, remember that? Right? And what we did on that dig was we tried to come up with a scientific, geological, meteorological explanation of what happened. What makes something a miracle is timing, right? If you have, if you're driving from deepest dark Africa and your car runs out of gas, and I happen to be coming down the road and I pick you up, right? There's nothing. Okay, I happen to be there, right? But it's timing. I happen to be there, and that's a miracle. Now, we call it a miracle sometimes, right? When the timing is perfect for us.
Okay, so I kind of different phrasing of this question. So there's these polls about what fraction of Americans think that science is good for society,
Right.
a net good. And today we're at a low of as long as this has been recorded. So about 56% of Americans think science is good. As a religious person, like what am I doing wrong?
That's horrendous, right? No, but that's scary. It's scary for our society. That's what happened with the vaccines, right?
Vaccines, climate change.
People died, and a lot more people will die from climate change if we don't take this seriously. And the whole problem of this opposition that people are opposing religion against science is dangerous to everybody's health, is dangerous to our society, is dangerous to the world. And that's why exactly this kind of conversation should happen, so that religious people can say, we need science, but also that scientists can say, there are questions that we can't answer, right, for which we will respect religion when it gives an answer.
So like that advice would be like, to say there's limits of science, or kind of like what's the thing that we're not doing?
I want science to go to the outer limits.
Yeah.
I want science to do everything. But I want people to understand that there's nothing scary. Again, the reason I mentioned creation stories, right, so carefully, is that's one of the things that's putting people say, oh, I'm not going to have my Bible anymore if I've got Big Bang. And it's not true. If they understood the Bible, there's no reason to fear science. Science can only help us. Science can't answer certain questions, but science can answer a lot of questions that we need answers for.
So like it maybe the argument is like you should read the Bible better. But like, so how does one do that?
I've been trying to do this for a long time. I don't know, but you see, when fundamentalists read the Bible and think that the world was created in 60, let me tell you a little story. When I was in Egypt, I had a very dear friend, his name was Dr. Steve Mosher. He was a geologist. And he would go to the Black Hills in South Dakota on field trips, and he would find rocks that were millions and millions of years old. But he taught at a religious seminary, and he taught what they call the young Earth theory, right? You know that phrase, right? That the Earth is 5,784 years old. And I would say to Steve, you see rocks with carbon 14 dating. You know that those rocks are millions of years old, and then you're going and saying that, and he says, I have 2 rooms in my mind. No, by the way, he's a lovely guy, right? He's a lovely guy. He said, I've got my religious mind, and I've got my scientific mind. I said, this doesn't work for me. I cannot comprehend that kind of thinking, right? No, those rooms should have a door, and that where you can go in and out.
But so are you advocating? Because like when it comes to vaccines, climate change, you kind of need a connection of those rooms. Like if you say, hey, which room is the vaccine and climate change?
I want science to tell me everything it can possibly tell me. I want it to recommend the best of its current knowledge, right? Everything it can tell me, And then I want religion to say, go with the science, go with the vaccine. I mean, Judaism of all things wants health. It wants life. It wants to preserve life. Anything that goes against the preservation of life is bad. Anybody who uses religion against science in that way is misusing religion in a horrible way. In other words, the question is not only about science and religion, it's how we think about religion. In other words, there are people, to quote, to paraphrase somebody, who give religion a bad name, right? But there is a kind of religion, and Judaism is very much this way, right, that wants to use science, wants to use medicine every day to improve our lives. Okay, will you stop?
Well, no, we have Q&A.
Just one question. Would somebody like to ask one question? Yeah, yes.
Where does religion go to physicists at Duke or North Carolina or whatever and say, you could create this artificial intelligence that would replace all engineers in the world, but as a value matter, we won't let you.
But when does it come and say, we'll let you do this, but
We're going to put a limit on your science because it's unethical.
Well, I mean, in the history of science, we just push boundaries, ethics or not. I mean, this is Oppenheimer, and science will always be pushed to its boundaries. Ethics are kind of a science.
No, but that's why we need this conversation, and I don't mean Danny, or Danny, me. I mean, religion and science on a high level have to be talking to each other, right? And when science is getting into ethical categories, as all sorts of medical things do, you need a conversation. But the conversation has to be, and this is what we'll wind up with, right? Respectful. That the scientist has to say, okay, what do you have to tell us about life, or about what is the meaning of life, or how far should artificial intelligence go? But religion has to respect science too. Because when we're talking about religion, we're also talking about morality, we're talking about philosophy, and this is a conversation, and the world will be in trouble if we don't have this conversation. One more question.
So Dan, I have one question for you, which is,
Okay.
it makes me think of the Saturday Night Live skit where they have the leeches, like the
James
doctor.
Fox is talking about leeches, I don't know.
No, this is that at the time,
Yes.
400 years ago, they thought bloodletting was. So my question is, where are we on the curve of science? Isn't there an argument for religion that says no matter how much you start with science, there's just so much more we will never know?
Yeah, you want to take that?
Yeah, I mean, we're definitely far along the curve. Just to flip your question though, as a scientist, what I react to is so does religion have to be the thing that answers? Yes, I will take that science is limited, but kind of you're implying that it's religion that has the answers, and that it's to me that's where the lack of clarity comes.
Or let's put it this way: science, you and medicine, tell me everything you can tell me, and let us integrate that into our lives the best we can. Right? It's like any decision you ever make in your life. You get the best information you can get, right? And based on that information, you make your best decision. Ed Kaplan will get the last question. Then I go Margaret. Okay.
There's a Spike Lee movie called Do the Right Thing.
Yeah, Spike Lee movie called Do the Right Thing.
Yeah.
I love these cultural references.
Science.
Saturday Night Live, Dave.
But look, I'm a scientist
Yeah.
also. Science can tell you what's right and what's wrong in a factual sense, often.
Ed Kaplan says, I just wanted your consecutive translation, right? It can tell you right and wrong in a factual sense. That's a very deep thing.
But it will often be the case in life that you find yourself in a position where you have to make a decision and you don't know what the right thing is.
Right.
But
And if you're in a decision based on science that you don't know what the right thing is,
it's not even necessarily just based on science. What religion gives me, and I think all of us, is the notion that there actually is such a thing as the best thing to do.
and
we have
based on higher values like
Based on
life.
higher values, right. And to me, that's a question that science can't answer, and I think good scientists would agree that that's not what they're trying to answer.
Right, scientists don't have to.
They don't have to.
As
It's
long
not
as there
their
can be
job.
a conversation with people who are dealing with the higher values. I want you to use, empirical methods, and all your methods, and you find out everything you can, and then let's talk.
Yeah, so there's one gotcha though for the science side that I hear all scientists say all the time, which is like, what's great about science is that it's constantly improving, kind of trying to falsify itself and then find a better theory. Religion has these texts and they're old. Like, we're as modern as can be. How do you respond to that?
I can respond that you don't understand conservative Judaism. I'm not saying this badly, but the whole idea of conservative Judaism is that we take these texts and we reinterpret them. They're women on the bima, right? We have evolved, and just as each person, each one of us should be evolving all the time. The whole idea of conservative Judaism was originally called historical Judaism, which means there's a history, and it has changed. Just like we've gone to use David's example of that data I'm talking about, leeches and everything like that, Judaism has evolved. Science and Judaism should both be evolving, and they should be evolving in kind of cross-reference integration. But I don't. You're making Judaism, religion out to be old texts that have not been understood better and differently over the course of, and that's not true.
Yeah. Okay. But I do think like us scientists will be more respectful, but I think the pitch that religion has to make is we're evolving with you. You know, because
But we are.
You are, but there's other religions not so much.
No. But that's a fascinating point. Look at what's happened in this world, and in Judaism, that the right wing, whether it's evangelical Christianity or Orthodox Judaism or Islam, it's a fascinating thing, just objectively speaking, that the right wing movements that don't want to progress, that don't want to change, are getting more and more adherents.
Yeah,
and that comes
anti-science.
Right, and the most anti-science, and the most scared of science. And that's why they feel part of it, they can't win. Because that's the world. Let's put it this way: why are there so many Jewish Nobel Prize winners and so few Muslim Nobel Prize winners? Because they didn't believe in change. They stopped growth, right? And so what religion has to keep growing. And some of us understand that. Not everybody, but I wish more of us did. And that's why when people will say, "Well, Orthodox Judaism's got the mojo and conservative Judaism doesn't," I say, "Yeah, but we're right." No, we are. We're right for the very reasons you're talking about. That we are evolving and we are going to grow and we are going to change. And if we talk about any human being, if you stop at your age, right, from evolving, then you're not going to be everything that you're going to be. Okay, and remember, I'll finish with this, right? Right? What is God's name? Yud He Vav He. He is becoming what He's becoming, and that's what we should all do. And on that happy note, I love you.
We'll follow the draw.
What? No, the whole idea is it's not a competition.
No,
It's not a draw. The whole idea is that we, okay. Page 51, please rise for a leave.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, l'teikin gula l'yoser b'reshit, Shelo asanu v'yaratzah, v'lo samanu mishpachat adama, Shelo sam chelkeinu b'hem, v'gor aleinu k'v'amona, Anachnu korim, Mishkachatim u'modim, V'nei melech, Malchei HaMachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Shehu noteh shamayim v'yosei haaretz, Lo shlai b'karov ha'shamayim b'ma'al, U'shvinatu zo, V'gavei meromim. Eloheinu Eino, and Malkeinu Efesulato, Avatu B'Torato, Yadatayon V'Hashemona, Elevamecha, Adonai Hu Elohim, Hashamayim Nimal, Ve'al haaretz, Ve'al haaretz, V'itachas הכתוב בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, ונאמר, היה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
O Lord and King, quicken by thy holy words those bowed in sorrow, that like all the faithfulness who have gone before, they too may be faithful to thy Torah and thus advance the reign of thy kingdom upon earth. During this week, we'll observe the following yard sites: Harry Watstein, Father George Watstein, Tegan Hawkins, friend Emily Weissman, Claire Bollain, Mother Dean Bollain, Morris Moskowitz, Father Marilyn Vinokur, Ruth Barnett, Grandmother Malcolm Friedman, Bessie Katz, Grandmother Callie Moses, Sylvia Leffland, Grandmother Jeffrey Coupel, and Gerald Putterman, husband of Miriam Putterman, father of Hallie and Joshua. In solemn testimony to that unbroken faith which links the generations one to another, let those who mourn now rise to magnify and sanctify thy holy name. Mourners Cottage, page 52. Yikadal, Yikadash, Shemay Rabbah, Yalmad, Yirah, Yerusei, Yamlik, Chaye Kom, Yomei Kom, Chaye Yisrael, Beis Yisrael. Amen. Yehi Shemay Rabbah, Morach, Hayolam, Omeomayim. Yitbarach, Yishtabach, Yitahar, Yitroman, Yitnaseh, Yitzadar, Yitaleh, Yitalal, Shemay, Kushab, Richu, Le'eva, Mikol, Pirchata, Shirata, Tushkachata, Masamata, Damiran, Bialma, Biru. Amen. Yehi Shalom, Rabba, Shemaya, Ve'achayim, Aleinu, Bialma, Yisrael, Biru. Amen. Oseh Shalom, Yerumah, Yaseh Shalom, Aleinu, Bialma, Yisrael, Biru. Amen. Please be seated.
Shabbat Shalom. I feel like this was like an amazing opening act tonight for this long weekend. So tomorrow's Shabbat service will begin at 9:30 in the morning, and during the week, morning minyan will be held Sunday at 9 a.m. and Monday through Friday at 7:15 a.m. Evening minyan will be held Monday through Thursday at 6:45 p.m. Here are the announcements for the week. Tomorrow night, we are celebrating Rabbi Scolnics' 40 years of incredible dedication, care, and love of our congregation and community. At 40 years in the dessert, there will be we're having appetizers and desserts and musical review featuring the legendary Jewish group, the TBS Singers. We look forward to seeing many of you there. Don't forget to take off your Purim baskets in the library. Actually, I don't know if they are still in the library. I think you can still pick them up, but you come on Monday to check with the office. There will be a men's club sports with Guy Derek Marksman on Sunday at 9 a.m. And on Monday, there's a Yiddish Live program. On Tuesday, there's a Financial Insights program. And on Wednesday, there's a Lions of Judah program. And then finally, on Thursday, there's a Torah Talks program. These are the regional programs that Men's Club holds, and the link will be in the Temple tablet. On Monday, there will be an adult education committee meeting on Zoom at 7:15 p.m. And the Rabbi's Bible class will take place on Wednesday night, as it has for the past 40 years, at 7 o'clock following Minyan. Please, once again, join us at 6:45 p.m. for the evening Minyan. The next Young Families program geared for children 6 and under and their siblings will be held on Sunday, April 14th at 10 o'clock in the morning. The topic will be Passover. To register, send an email to youngfamiliestbs@gmail.com. Passover is just around the corner, so get your grocery shopping done. Don't forget to bring your gift cards, which are available to stop at Stop and Shop, ShopRite, and Big Y. They're available in the office or at Morning Minyan from Michelle Murphy. If you prefer, you can also email Linda Greengas at tbsgiftcards@gmail.com. We receive 5% back on every gift card sold. For up-to-date Temple information, please visit our website and check your emails every Monday for the Temple tablet. We want to announce that the new silk Bimba flowers are donated by Jerry Gnazer and Stan Judah in honor of their father, Izzy Judah. So you have to come in person at some point to see them, because they're really nice. Shabbat Shalom. We'll see you tomorrow at 9:30 in the morning. Please join us for the oneg in the front lobby, because the social hall is ready for tomorrow night. Thank you.
We'd like to thank St. Judas for chanting so beautifully. It really is. It's, every time he comes, it's just a treat. And if you enjoyed it, come back tomorrow morning because I got him to do almost everything tomorrow. You know, the conversation that Danny and I just had, it just makes me realize just how important it is. You know, I mean, we've talked about these things, but this is the kind of thing that we need to do, whether it's oppositions in our community, you know, or all the divides that happen in our society. We always have to find the common ground. It's hard. And it's hard because we have our prejudices and we have our dislikes and our myths and everything like that. But you see that if there's goodwill, it's amazing what can happen. And there should be goodwill between religion and science because we're really after the same thing, right? Which is life and truth and the best thing for all of humankind. So thank you, Danny. That was wonderful for me. And we'll conclude with the Adon Olam on page 54.
Adon Olam Asher Malach B'terem Kol Yitzir Nivra Li'echa Sarach Sofo Azai Melech Shemo Nivra V'Yacharei Iflo Gadol Levado Yimot Nora Ve'u Haya Ve'u Hoveh Ve'u Yeh V'Tifara Ve'u Echad V'Yim Sheni L'Hamshir Lo L'Hachbira V'Li Reishi V'Li Tachli V'Lo Ha'oz V'Ha'Misra Ve'u Eli V'Chai Go'ali V'Tzur Chevli V'Yetzara Ve'u Nisi U'Manosli V'Nat Kosi V'Yom Ekra V'Yado Avgid Rufi V'Yekishan V'Ya'ira V'Yin Rufi V'Yati Adonai Li Elohim.
Please rise for the closing prayer. I'm going to ask Hannah Judah to say the Motzi, Oseh Shalom B'Romav, Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu V'Al Kol Yisrael B'Mru Amen. May He who makes peace in the heavens grant peace unto us and unto all Israel. Let us say Amen.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz.
Your father just grabbed
Nice. No, it would. You got something.
it. Shabbat Shalom.
So we'll see you tomorrow.
Yes.
You
No, I don't know. I'm a spectator.
We'll see you tomorrow night.
Yeah.
See you tomorrow night. See you tomorrow night. I tried to call you, but I didn't.
How does it go?